Last week, the news broke that Sony Pictures and Marvel Studios managed to put their differences aside and work out a deal to keep Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Since then, tons of details and rumors have been dropping online. Let's sit back, take a minute, and talk about what we really know about the Spider-Man deal. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Comic Book Nostalgia. I'm CV Nostalgia, and today we're going to talk about what we know about the Spider-Man deal. Now before we get started, make sure you click that like button, press subscribe, and ring the bell to get updates, and hey, comment would be great. So last week, when we finally got the news that Sony and Marvel had put aside their differences to keep Spider-Man in the MCU, there was mass celebration from the fans. But some of the things they said have led to a lot of speculation and rumors swirling everywhere. Some of these rumors come from great sources, some of them don't, but very few of them have confirmation. So I thought maybe what we should do is take a minute and talk about what we actually do know. I guess first and foremost, we need to ask ourselves, is this two universes or the merging of two worlds? Now to me, it seems like it's probably going to be two worlds. Kevin Feige even said in his own statement that he happens to be the only hero with a superpower to cross cinematic universes. And Sony will continue to develop their own Spideyverse. You never know what the future could hold. So by looking at this, it makes it pretty clear. Spider-Man will swing into another adventure in the MCU, but we also could see him in other Sony movies like Venom 2 or Morbius. Now presumably, his appearance in each universe won't affect the other. So if he battles Eddie Brock in Venom 2 or 3, we won't hear about it in another Spider-Man movie. However, there are some other interesting details in this. One of the quotes that we've heard is, as Sony progresses their own Marvel Universe with titles like Venom 2 and the Sinister Six, and Disney Marvel their own, there could be a call and answer between the two franchises, as they acknowledge details between the two, which could loosely be described as a shared, detailed universe. Now, this I'm not too sure of. Feige never really even seemed too keen on including stuff from Daredevil or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so allowing another studio to influence his films seems fairly unlikely. But we don't know any of the details between Marvel and Sony because we're not allowed to read the contracts. Also, if you read comics, I don't really see this as too much of a big deal. There are literally world-shattering events that happen in one title that you barely hear about in another, so I don't know that this necessarily needs to happen. We also have confirmed we're going to get at least 2 more Spider-Man movies, with Spider-Man 3 picking up the release date of July 16th, 2021. Now according to this, there will be another Marvel Cinematic Universe movie that he'll appear. What that'll be, we have no idea. A lot of people believe this could be the new Avengers. But with so many new franchises coming in, I wouldn't put it past them to stick him in Fantastic Four. The comics, he historically has a pretty good relationship with the Human Torch. Now, there have been some other internet rumors surrounding this that this is just an initial deal and there's a much larger arc planned for Spider-Man. We're going to dig into that in another video because it's nothing that we can actually confirm. We also found out a little more about the financial side of things. Now, the news came out last Friday that they came to an agreement, but it sounds like these details have been getting ironed out for a long time. So what Disney wanted was a greater stake in the co-financing deal. What this means is Disney would put up a certain percentage of the movie's financing, and then they would get a certain percentage of the profits. Previously, this had only been 5%. When Disney came in on renegotiations, they wanted 50%. Now, reportedly, Sony was offered 25% earlier and actually never responded to the deal, and there's been a lot of he said, she said when trying to lay blame for this. Ultimately, Sony has agreed to the terms proposed by Disney, which will give them a third movie and a 25% equity stake. This is a pretty good deal for Sony when you kind of think about it, considering that Spider-Man Far From Home is the biggest grossing movie for Sony ever. We also were able to get some confirmation that Jon Watts is in the final stages of talks to direct Spider-Man 3. Some of the other rumblings suggested that he wasn't going to do the movie if it wasn't part of the MCU, and quite honestly, I don't blame him there. I'm sure as a creator, he has a story arc he's working on, and to have the creative foundation ripped out 2/3 of the way through the story makes for an almost impossible situation. Now, he has previously expressed interest in Kraven the Hunter, and the rumor mill right now is suggesting that Kraven and Scorpion would be the villains of the third movie. I'm down for both, but anytime you have more than one villain, it kind of gets split a little bit, and Kraven is the kind of guy that you want to give the proper time on screen. I don't think it was an accident, by the way, that the day before, Madame Web was announced by Sony. It's sort of weird because this is a character who has never had her own comic book, but since Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse introduced the concept of the multiverse, there's really no reason that the MCU's Tom Holland Peter Parker couldn't be part of that. A Madame Web movie could be used to explain how Spider-Man jumps between worlds, and really could be used as a catch-all for any sort of lingering questions or plot holes that don't really fit for using him in both studios. It is a little weird and convoluted, but it may well work. And I think the final ultimate question is, will the deal be extended or is Spider-Man nearing his end in the MCU? I think it goes without saying that Spider-Man could be nearing his end in the MCU, but I don't really find that likely. But greed could screw this all up. I think this has probably been a big game of chicken, and the studios have finally come to some level of agreement. The profitability is so high that I can't imagine either studio wants to kill the golden goose. There have been some that have been claiming that Kevin Feige is looking for a way to write him out of the MCU. I find this very unlikely. I could see Sony asking Marvel Studios in order to finish this deal to make sure that wherever the storyline concludes, that it's a natural point that doesn't leave them holding the bag for a story they can't finish telling. As far as the deal being extended, your guess is as good as mine, but let's hope so. This all falls outside of if Sony is sold, which Sony says they're not for sale, and lots of rumors suggest they may be. Spider-Man automatically goes back to Marvel. So with the next movie in 2021, and maybe New Avengers in 2022 or 2023, we're looking at almost 4 years before this comes back up again. Anything could happen by then. We'll get together and talk about some of these rumors that we're hearing about Spider-Man, but most of them are unconfirmable. My favorite being the ongoing series is going to be more than 2, and will basically be Spider-Man and his amazing friends. But until next time, make sure you sound off in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure you press like below, click subscribe, and if you don't ring that bell, you won't get any updates. Peace.